Hello, this is Ignatius 500 and I'm Peter O'Sullivan. We all know someone who is seen as good, but ends up doing the opposite of what they intended. Someone who is carried away by good desires without stopping to think about the consequences or the most appropriate way to fulfill those desires. But are these desires false or bad? No, far from it. They are simply an example of poorly discerned good desires, with a lot of good intention but poor execution. Something similar happened to Ignatius of Loyola. During his convalescence in Loyola after the Battle of Pamplona, Ignatius was filled with the desires of holiness. He wanted to follow Jesus, poor and humble. He wanted to live with him and like him. Holy and noble desires, no doubt, but ones which weren't initially discerned, as we discover when Ignatius was in Manresa. During these months, this newly converted soldier radically expresses his desire to get away from his past life and become a saint. He dresses in a sackcloth, neglects his appearance, and goes through penances to the point of endangering his life. His desires for holiness is still a very human desire. He wants to serve God, just like he served his previous king, on the basis of merit and training to become holy as if he were a soldier. This shows that, although his heart is orientated towards God, he has not yet abandoned himself to God. He has not taken the leap and is holding the reins firmly in his hands. In short, Ignatius is still not free enough. He needs to distance himself from his own ideals and grow in freedom, in indifference, as he would later call it. And this is not an easy task. Discernment is an intuition rather than a reality. Perhaps you have already experienced that in life, that there are things that bind us. Material things such as smartphones or social media, or immaterial such as the desire to be right, our own self-image, our ideas. Things that heavily condition our way of being and acting, preventing us from doing what we really want. If I think I'm always right, how am I going to listen more to others? Or how can I be more present at my home if I don't detach myself from my phone? Realizing this means realizing that we're not as free as we think, and that there are things that influence us more than we'd imagined. However, the process to conquer that freedom costs, and it costs a lot, and that's why shortcuts and false balances, which don't change anything deep down, are so attractive. This, on a spiritual level, means forcing God into my plans, fulfilling the desire to serve God with some easy volunteering, saying that I pray every day only because I remember God at night, or thinking that I live the faith in community because I spend time in Christian friend groups, but then maybe I'm not even going to Mass. Or, at the other extreme, undertaking a lot of pious practices and following many Christian accounts on social media, but then continuing to behave in exactly the same way. These are the false balances of those who say that they follow the Lord, but keep practicing false imitations of holiness. And that is what Ignatius will call the second binary, saying that I follow the Lord because I do certain things, but deep down I follow myself. Perhaps now we understand better that Ignatius's holy desires were very human, because desires that came from God were still very much constrained by his own desires, and that gave him a lot of heartache because he was never at peace. He wanted to do what God proposed to him, but in his own way, and this is an impossible combination. Unlearning his own way and learning God's way was his apprenticeship in Manresa. The Lord taught him, like a child, to recognize his attachments with humility, to recognize and fight the internal struggle between his ideal self and his real self, in order to set himself free from all those attachments that prevented him from going towards God. And you, where are you on your journey? Do you find that volunteering, prayer and accompaniment help you to follow the Lord in his way? Or do you use it to remain in a place of false peace?